Excellencies, dear ministers, presidents, director generals, representatives of the members and partners of the 4 per Thousand initiative, ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues, dear friends, I would like to say. It's really an honor for me to stand up here and chair today's meeting. It will be a long day, a hard day, and I would like to apologize on behalf of the President Ibrahim Mayaki and Vice President Stéphane Le Foll that both of them, look at my face, I don't look like them. Both of them are not here today. So they are busy at home, and they both really apologize for their absence at such an important time in the life and for such an important meeting here in Madrid. So please, ladies and gentlemen, accept that I speak on behalf of the Federal Ministry of Food and Agriculture of Germany today, but in particular also on behalf of the presidency of the 4 per Thousand initiative. But before going into some details, I would like to thank the Spanish authorities and their official representatives for hosting the COP25 here in Madrid. So I attended the COP from the first day on, and it's really impressive. And please, Minister Planas, tell all the others who had to organize something, it's really impressive how you managed to set up such kind of COP within at least 4 weeks. Really. I just heard that about 26,000 people are accredited for the COP. And please, ladies and gentlemen, go back home and think about that, how much that work that must have been during the last 4 weeks. So thanks a lot for that. And Minister Planas, also thank you very much that we can have that meeting here at your home in front of your office. You told me your office is up there, so you can watch us all day. And we are very grateful that we can have our 4 per Mille forum and consortium meeting here in your offices. Thanks a lot. And I just wanted to mention that also. And if I say we, it's mainly Paul Louis and his team, had to work intensively with the Chilean presidency of the COP25, and everything was prepared already for that meeting in Chile. And they worked together with the FAO regional office in Santiago de Chile and with INEA. And I think we should also say thank you to all of them who had to prepare something already for Chile. And I just wanted to mention Mr. Julio Berdegue from FAO and Emilio Ruz from INEA in Chile, who helped a lot for the preparations there in Chile. But as you know, it didn't happen there. Now we're here. So on my agenda, there is not the word welcome speech, but also the word inspirational speech. And listening to the speeches of you both, the ministers, it was really inspirational and challenging, and it was a good and wonderful motivation for all of us to go ahead. And I just wanted to say thank you also for supporting the 4 per Thousand initiative with stuff, with money, and well, now I can say thank you very much to Germany as well. We're doing that also because we believe that this initiative is a very, very important one. Because soils, as you mentioned, soils are our treasure. It's not only the treasure for climate or against climate change, It's the treasure for mankind, for all human beings. It's the treasure for nature, and for that reason also the treasure for nature-based solutions, which are always on the list of many of the side events of the COP. So that's something we should have in mind, and it's worth to spend money, to spend stuff for this treasure, because we have to preserve that for the future. Ladies and gentlemen, the IPCC Special Report on Climate Change tells us that agriculture and forestry are important for climate change, are important as source of greenhouse gases. We heard it, as you mentioned. In Germany, we have got about 7.5% of all the greenhouse gases coming from agriculture. But they are also a solution. Not the overall solution, probably, but they can provide many elements for the solution against climate change. But we have to have in mind that agriculture is also affected by climate change. So adaptation is a big issue, and not only in developing countries, also here in Europe and in Germany. We just prepared during the last 2 years an agenda for adaptation in agriculture, having in mind the droughts we had in the summer and other events like storms, or we had late frost. These things, we have to consider them better than we did in the past. The implementation of cropping, livestock, and agroforestry practices leading to increased soil carbon storage is really important. So it's easy to say this, but the implementation is often very difficult and often costly for the farmers and for the society. There's also something what we have to have in mind also when we discuss the COP. And we should also have in mind that Germany and many EU countries do not have really the potential to sequester sufficiently large volumes of CO2 in soils, because we're doing agriculture on our fields already for many hundred years, and the soils are really good, many of them. So 4 per mil, it's a good figure for the world, but maybe not for each of our countries. But nevertheless, we have to preserve soil carbon and try to rise the carbon stocks wherever possible. We will need strong partnerships for the future. We need those partnerships in Europe and also worldwide. Otherwise, we would fail. So I just wanted to mention one word, that is Coronivia. Coronivia Joint Work on Agriculture. That's the UNFCCC work stream, looking at agriculture, looking at all the details which contribute to climate change, at mitigation and at adaptation. And last June in Bonn, the Coronivia Joint Work on Agriculture organized a workshop on soils. And we had discussions during this COP on the outcomes of that workshop. It was until 2 o'clock on Saturday morning, these negotiations, but at least we could say all countries of the world acknowledge the potentials of the soil and acknowledge that soil is one of the most important components in agriculture and also in forestry, and you mentioned all the details around that. I think that's a good message coming from the COP here in Madrid, and I hope that we can carry it on for COP26, which will be in Glasgow. And in COP26, we expect a decision of that COP on how to proceed in the field of agriculture. That's a very important point we have to have in mind, because if we talk about agriculture, we are not talking only about farmers in the field. We are talking about food security. We're talking about refugees coming from those countries where you no longer able to produce food in the field. So that's something we have to have in mind. And the EU policy covers these elements. And I'm sure the new Green Deal will cover that as well. So it's necessary to propose concrete global actions. It's not only research what we have to talk about. We have to talk about pilot projects. It's about creating global campaigns on transition and at least on implementation on the ground. So that's something we hear very often if you go through the areas in the COP. Don't talk, but do it. And if I say transition, well, that is, if you look at the farmers and the foresters, not really new to them. All measures against climate change and all measures regarding soil carbon are well known to the farmers. But they have to be acknowledged in the EU and within the CAP. They have to be feasible, these measures, and economically viable also. So that means that we need projects of local actors to achieve implementation on the ground, and this relates to us all, but as I mentioned, in particular to developing countries. And that is the reason for the 2019 call for projects of the 4 per 1,000 initiative. So the initial results are encouraging, and if appropriate projects are identified, funders have to be convinced. My ministry is open to evaluate such applications, and my minister, Julia Klöckner, minister's best wishes from Julia, agreed in a letter to the 4 per mil initiative to check funding if money is available in Germany and if you need it. Such ideas and concepts for widespread campaigns should become part of the 4 per mil or the 4 per 1,000 action plan for the coming years. And there's still a long way to go for the initiative, its members and partners. We need to stabilize that support, stabilize the resources needed for these actions, but my feeling is we are on the right track, and I'm following the whole process already from the first forum on, which I had to organize in Bonn. And ladies and gentlemen, that's the reason why we need all of you, everybody, and all of you more than ever. I wanted to mention one additional point, and that's something we have to talk about, and that's more related to the science people in the room. We need better opportunities to measure soil carbon. Because looking at the UNFCCC context, you do not exist if you are not able to measure what you are doing. And there is still a big gap in the field of measuring. We have inventories, yes, but they can do it only every 10 or every 50 years. That's it. But we need to measure it every year. Just to mention that. So, all of all, I would like to take that opportunity to thank you all already now, but in particular Paul Lü and the Secretariat team for preparing this forum and this consortium. It was a hard work. And I also wanted to mention the interpreters there in the back. I was listening to the English translation of your speeches. It was perfect. It was great. So thanks a lot already now to the interpreters. Very often they are forgotten, but I think I should mention that. So, thank you much to all of you, and I wish you a wonderful day. I will try to guide you as best as I can.